Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. As we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, and what's been going on in the Gamosphere news. I should not call it a Gamosphere, it's such a weird name. Things I heard about recently, which seems pretty cool. I believe Dota 2 has basically just had like the hugest update in its entire history, which is awesome. You know, you might be like, hey, aren't you a League of Legends player? Don't you hate Dota 2? Shouldn't you be like, screw Dota 2? No, I've got nothing against Dota 2. I played it, and it just, you know, if it was, I often say this, League of Legends was a game I discovered because it was from a YouTuber I played, and if he played Dota 2 instead, and Dota 2 was the first game I played, then maybe I would have played Dota 2 instead of League of Legends after all these years. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, it's 4:11 PM on Saturday, April 22nd, 2023. Today's also Phoebe's birthday. I didn't know that. Happy birthday, Phoebe. Yeah, I got nothing against Dota 2, and I'm happy for it. They've got what seemingly is a huge update. Like, I believe there's like a new stat in the game. The entire map's been like increased. There's like new areas or something in it. And I'm like, awesome. It's basically what I can say. It's not enough to make me go back to Dota 2 or anything. I don't even really play League all that much anymore, to be honest. I kind of just play ARAMs, if anything. But still awesome. The other one I saw, which is also like a game I've played, considerably more than Dota, but is Town of Salem. Apparently that has a Town of Salem 2 coming out, and I was like, whoa. And apparently there's been a lot of updates to Town of Salem, which I feel like I knew about, but I also like forgot about as well. Is the fact that Town of Salem has had like a load of like DLC content or something, which added a load of like different roles or whatever. I don't even know what it looks like now. The only thing I remember from Town of Salem is like I played it actually quite near the beginning when it started. I don't know why or how I even found it, to be perfectly honest. I think it must have been through random videos or something. Like I have a feeling it was back in my day, when I actually was more into social deception games. Nowadays, I'm like, I'll play them for a bit with my friends, but it's not something I'm like infused to, you know. It'd be like if someone was like, hey, let's play some social deception games, unless I was just like, you know, I really can't be bothered now, I'm going to be like, all right, fine, I'll play like a game or two. But most of the time I'll just be like, meh, I'm alright just watching. I'll be the host, you know. I very much don't mind being the person telling the story, of course. But actually playing them, you know, I've said my piece about it. You can go look up one of the previous videos, I suppose, if you are particularly interested in that sort of thing. But back in, you know, I did actually used to like social deception games quite a lot. And Town of Salem, I think, was the go-to one. I think I probably just like burned myself out on them, and then I just like kind of like lost any interest I had in them. Which you might be like, that's kind of sad. But you know, things come and go. Your likes and dislikes, you change as people, right? So that's just it. Excuse me, as I'm sipping some water. I don't think I can title this video Town of Salem necessarily, but it's been quite a long time since I played that. But I played that way back in the day. This must have been the start of secondary school or something. And it was fun. Like, if you don't know what Town of Salem is, it's basically based off of the game Mafia or Werewolf, whichever you know. And that's basically it. If you don't even know what that is, it's basically a social deception game. Everyone gets given a role at the start of a game. There's two sides generally, like the Mafia side and Mafia/werewolves versus the village, and then it's basically like villagers want to kill the Mafias/werewolf and vice versa. And then there's lots of different roles which get like special abilities, etc, etc, etc. And Town of Salem was basically just one of the biggest online, I suppose, early sites, I think, to actually host that game that I can think of. Because before, like, my first introduction to the game was Mafia, the card game, which I so remember distinctly. This was in secondary school. My best friend, like, telling me about it at the time. Wait, hold on. At the time just makes it sound like, I don't know why I said best friend necessarily, but yeah, like my really good friend, best friend, I don't know. Friend labels are meaningless in the end. Well, that's not true, but yeah, anyway, he was telling me about Mafia, and like I'd never even heard of it before, and he said he played it like during Scouts or something, and I just remember like listening to it being like, I don't get the game, because he was just like, oh, you know, everyone gets a different card, and you're either like Village or you're like for Mafia, and then you vote out who you think's a Mafia like every single round. Now the thing, which, you know, I still stand by, I think base Mafia is actually quite a boring. It's not that interesting a game. It's not, okay, how should I put this? It's not interesting from a game perspective. It's interesting it's more fun from like just a social event standard, I suppose. Because the problem with Mafia itself is you don't, at least the Mafia I was introduced to, you basically get no information whatsoever. It's basically just a game where you talk to each other and you make random accusations out of nowhere because you have nothing to base anything off. But base mafia I know is everyone's either a villager or you're on the mafia team, and you vote to execute someone every single night, and then you vote to hang someone every single like morning, which is I suppose a bit dark now I think about like the actual content of the thing, but of the game, but still. And what I mean by the fact that like it's hard to really make any decisions is the fact that there's no like powers in the game, like the one I was introduced. There might have been a doctor maybe who could save like a villager teammate, which is like the slightest bit of information, because if you know that if a doctor managed to save someone, you're like, okay, that person's definitely confirmed a villager, probably. but that's like literally the only information you can go off of. And when it was introduced, like explained to me, it was just like without the special roles, it was just like villager versus mafia. And that's, I think, like the way that a reasonable amount of people play, just like the base way. And to me, from a game perspective, I'm just like, that's so boring. Because there's literally nothing. It's basically just like a talking simulator is how I describe it. You might as well just sort of randomly, choose to eliminate. Let's say eliminate rather than execute, huh? That's a bit nicer. You might as well just sort of randomly choose to eliminate people, right? Because there's nothing to base it off. The only thing you have to base it off is whether you think you can tell someone's lying, irregardless of what they're, the content or what they're saying, right? I forgot to bring a birthday present. I'm gonna just head out real quick. Oh my god, Phoebe, I completely forgot it was your birthday. Quick. Let's go get some fruit, go get some wrapping paper, and hopefully we can still celebrate your birthday. I think this happened as well with someone else's birthday really recently. But yeah, and to me, the base game of Mafia is not really... I think it does actually get genuinely quite interesting from a game perspective. Once you... Oh, I forgot to say that. The base game of Mafia is actually quite fun, like as a social thing. Because it's fun to just basically be like, you're lying. I mean, be like, no, I'm not. You're lying. Or you're lying because you said X, Y, Z in this way. And you never say things like that. It's fun because it's, the same way like drinking games, I suppose, are fun. It's just like a social sort of thing. But I think that the game genuinely does get a lot more interesting when you start introducing roles who can do special abilities every single night. Things like investigator or sheriff who can see if people are good or bad, or their role, or etc, etc, etc. And the thing is, it gets rather complicated once you start introducing more interesting roles, shall I say. Because, while things like medic / doctor and the things like the sheriff like translate pretty well to if you're playing it physically in person, you start getting to things like, how's it going to work if I have a lookout? The person who's being the host now has to pay attention to every single person who is using an action on that person, which is a bit much to keep track of. I mean, you get like transporter, and it's like, oh, how does that interact with every other role? Like what order does it take place in? And you're just like, I don't even know. So One Night Ultimate Werewolf is actually a pretty good sort of like condensation, I think, of that, and is what I certainly played with most of. But Town of Salem was also, I think it must have been in my One Night Ultimate Werewolf where I was like, yeah, this is a really fun game. I want more of this. Turns out the introduction to roles, I'm just like, whoa, this is now like a big puzzle. So of course I love it. Oh, I was getting really confused by your dress there for a second. It's a sleeveless dress. And I was like, how do you have sleeves and like nothing around the armpit, Amelia? How does that work? Anyway, peace out, Phoebe. Yeah, so at some point I found Town of Salem. I think I found it through YouTube. Because I remember there used to be this YouTuber called like Minx or something like that. It was something like that. It started with like a min sound, I think. And they like made Town of Salem videos, I think. Or maybe, hold on. Is this how I eventually got to watch Norman 9? Because I swear there was someone they played with called like Omewrecker or something, who also was someone who used to be in Norman 9's like circle or something. I don't even remember. Okay, it's been ages. Who knows? Who cares, really? It's actually the better question. But I played a lot of Town of Salem, to be honest, and genuinely I had a lot of fun with it. And, seeing the fact that the second one as being an answer, I was like, whoa. I mean, I think Town of Salem also had quite a few controversies over the years. Like, I'm pretty sure they got like data breached, like, because they like all their passwords and stuff got like leaked, which is not great. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I think they also have a lot of like the skins that you can get in the game are from like material. Like, I'm pretty sure Nurse Akali, which is a League of Legends skin, is just straight up just in the game. But like all of their skins are like references to other things, but like they're not like references as so much as they are just that thing in the Town of Salem style, which is, I would wager probably infringes on copyright quite a lot, but still. it was still just genuinely a fun game, because it's a nice thing about having like a digital form of these sort of like physical card games is the fact that the computer can handle all the calculations, the computer can handle all the edge cases. You don't need someone there being like, okay, you like controlled the transporter who used the thing on this person, but were they a veteran who got swapped and then they didn't get and like, you know, it gets really confusing. And the computer's just like, boom, done, you know, no human error. But also, I suppose at the same time, it sort of boils the game down to its brass tacks. It kind of takes away the social aspect, necessarily, of it. Not necessarily, I suppose, but I feel like things in person feel a lot more sociable, obviously, than things online. That's not always the case. I guess you could be like on video calls and whatever, and it's pretty close. Just the delay of the internet is the only thing which it affects it. The latency, that's weird. But, yeah, you know. I also like there's a big difference between playing games, of course, online and in person, depending on the game. And seeing as it's a game which is so closely tied around social like dynamics and that sort of thing, but it really suffers, I think, from being online, in the sense that it takes away like a core part of the gameplay to a degree. But on the other hand, it means you can do more interesting things with it. So if you like it from a game design, I suppose, perspective, ignoring the social aspect part of it, it's fun to play. So yeah, I remember I played that a lot. I played that with like my friends quite a bit. I remember, you know, what stories I had. One of my friends, whenever she was mayor, she would just reveal herself at, like, I'm not going to explain what every single role does, because that's going to take forever, I'm going to be honest. I don't even know what all the roles do anymore. I think they've probably changed. When she would play mayor, she would always just like reveal herself, what's the word? Like day one, and then like somehow survive. Like I remember, oh man, because you could play like these custom things where you can set like there's a standard like way to play. There'd be like six to eight town people or something, 2 neutrals and 1 like evil and 3 mafia or something like that. I can't remember exactly the distribution off the top of my head, but something like that. But we also used to play these custom games as well, just for like fun. And I remember one time I played, I don't know if I still have a screenshot of it, but she was the only mayor, I think, like one of 2 towns. It was her as a mayor and someone else as like a retributionist or like some other town which did not have like a huge effect. I think it was like a medium or something, and somehow she won against like 2 werewolves, like 2 serial killers, like the mafia team, witches and whatever. I have no idea how she did it, to be honest. I don't even remember. The only thing I think I was like an arsonist or something, and I died very early on. It was insane, but it was also one of the funniest things I remember. I actually have a lot of like interesting memories from Town of Salem. That one sticks in my mind. Let's see if I got a picture of it. That would be insane if I still have a picture of it, because I'm pretty sure it was on my old computer, and it's not something I probably backed up, because why would I? Is basically the answer there. Oh yeah, Nookman missions. I don't know. This is kind of more of like anecdotal episode today, so it's going to be a bit difficult, I think. Otherwise, okay, exercise and Brewster we can do. Gaming? No, I don't have it in here. I do have some very old random screenshots. Don't know what happened to my Town of Salem ones. Got some Genshin ones in here. A lot of these are just like my idle games. Cheese locations and tiny brains. It's a very old school one. Old things I randomly saved is in here. No, I must have deleted it or something for some reason. I don't know necessarily why I would. Man, I have some really random things in here. What on earth is this? Deadly Premonition end credit song lyrics. Oh, man, that's a story for another time. Basically, Deadly Premonition, the end credit song is basically indecipherable, so I tried to actually like translate what she was saying in proper English. Because to be fair, it was sung by someone who doesn't speak English, so they just like mimicked the sounds as I understand it. It's very funny. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, Town of Salem. I don't think I have any screenshots, but there is one other Town of Salem story I remember, and this is a crazy one, because it's one of my victories I remember, and one of the most insane victories I pulled out, I think, in Town of Salem. I remember it because it was so exciting that after it, I basically told the entire story to a friend because they were so excited, and when I made it like I turned it into like a fictional, like not fictional story, but like a creative writing piece, I suppose, and sent it to him, and he was like, "Wow, cool," you know, and sort of like, "Wow, that's really cool, dear darling," sort of way. But I remember because for some reason it's locked into my brain. I was playing on the Mafia team. I was the Godfather, and I had two teammates. One who was called Carcat was a consort. I don't know why I remember they were called Carcat, but You know, that's a Homestar character. And then I had a consigliere who neither of them ever spoke to me and never said anything like noteworthy. Okay, I don't remember the entire thing, but basically the consort died on the first turn because the veteran armed themselves and killed like the witch, the consort, and someone else, like maybe like a lookout or something on the first turn. It was insane. Like they had an crazy first turn. They got like rid of most of the evil. So it was literally just like a werewolf as the other evil, a werewolf, an executioner, and me, and my other like mafia person. And they didn't write anything. They didn't communicate to me anything. So learned nothing. And then literally the next night, the consigliere died. So it was just like, what the heck? Why is it's literally just the third night? No, by the second day, it was literally just me by myself as a mafia team with no powers against everyone else. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be fun, isn't it? And we already had a confirmed veteran. Oh, I feel like the veteran got revived as well at some point. Like she died because the werewolf got her on the second turn, and then she got revived by the retributionist. And I was just like, what? No. Like, obviously, good play as like a town member to do that, because, you know, she's very much confirmed and she has proven very beneficial and still had like 2 alerts left from what I recall. But the things I remember about it is there are like a few key moments where I made like fantastically amazing plays. And one of them was I tried to attack someone early on and they survived. And I was like, how did that happen? Or they were immune, but it's not that they survived. And after listening to a discussion, I deduced that they were probably like an executioner or a serial killer or something, because I was just like, how is that even possible? And it was wild. and that was like a small thing, just like right at the beginning, which will pay off big later. Because at that time, I was just like, I don't know why they're immune. I didn't figure out their execution until later. And there was another thing where I was like, I was keeping track of basically what roles were claimed, what roles could be possibly claimed. And at one point, they were basically rallying for the doctor to be like, hey, doctor, we know that, can you heal this person over and over and over again? Because we know that they're going to be fine or whatever. And then town will win or something like that. I can't remember. And I was like doing the mental maths in my head, being like, oh my God, could there be a doctor left? What roles are even possibly left? And I figured out that it was technically possible for there to be no doctors and there to only be 2 bodyguards. And then I remember that exact night I got jailed by the jailer. He was like, what is your role? And I was like, oh damn, okay, I'm the bodyguard. Because then it made sense. Because if I said I was a medic, which was like the only unclaimed role left, town protective, but it wouldn't make sense that I wouldn't have said anything on the previous morning, because then, you know, town could have won or something. There was like an infinite, they had like an infinite store tactic, because I think they had like a medic plus bodyguard together or something. So we were just like bodyguard protect medic heal bodyguard, and thus they will never die, something like that. Which actually, now I think about it, doesn't work, because I'm pretty sure maybe a bodyguard could take out a werewolf. I don't remember. I probably sound like I'm just like saying nonsense. So I remember that, and I worked out super quickly that a bodyguard was the only thing that I could claim, which makes sense. That I couldn't, like, I had to be a town, I had to be protective, and I had to not be a medic. So I was like, bodyguard. And then I got the jailer to execute the other actual bodyguard. I remember that. And then they jailed me the next night, and I was like, oh man, I'm done for. They know I lied. Because, you know, obviously I lied to them. I said I was a bodyguard, and then they jailed the actual bodyguard. The actual other bodyguard. And then, you know, the next day it was like, they were a bodyguard, and I was like, well, I'm done for. So he jailed me, and he was like, I'm going to execute you. And then I remember he was like, oh damn, I can't execute you. I forgot that if you execute a town member, you get that privilege taken away from you. I was like, phew, looks like I'm good. But then he was like, you're still dead next voting session. And the most miraculous thing happened, where a werewolf attacked the jailer that night, or attacked me that night. I can't remember what it works. But because I was jailed, I did not get killed by the werewolf, but the werewolf killed the jailer. So I had a concrete alibi, and luckily they didn't put it in their will because they were just like, it's surefire that they're dead next time. And I was like, whoa, I can actually win this. And then I find it was down to me, the veteran, the werewolf, and the mystery person, who was actually an executioner. I kind of like spoiled it for you. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay. We were like, oh, this person's almost certainly the werewolf. Like, I don't know why we knew that. I think it was through their investigation. So we executed the werewolf that morning. And then And then I was like, okay, well, I had to kill the veteran, but the veteran's almost certainly going to be alert because the only thing left is like the Godfather, the mafia team. So of course they're going to be alert, and then veteran, and then they'll probably win by like executing me next morning. And then I did the big brain thing where I sat there and I figured out that that person who was immune earlier, who I don't know why I'm telling you this, you don't care, like you've probably already clicked off at this point, who I couldn't kill earlier, must have been an executioner whose target has now died and now they're jester, which made sense because I was like, why are they behaving so weirdly in the previous nights? Previous days, like trying to like say really sus things, and I was like, they must be the jester. And then I was just like, okay, I can form an alliance with them. I can vote them up and get the jester executed so they can get their win, and I can win as well. So what happened was like, oh yeah, I pretended to be like a survivor executioner or something. I can't really remember. And basically just being like, oh yeah, this person must be the Godfather, and that person being the jester was just like, oh yeah, I'm definitely the Godfather. I can't believe you wrapped me out. I nearly won this game. We could have won together, dear darling. And I was like, you know what? Town deserves this win because of how well they played. And I remember we both voted being like, yeah, execute this Godfather, town wins. And then at the last second I withdrew my vote, so only the veteran had voted guilty on the jester. And back in, I don't know if it still exists nowadays, but back then at least, the jester could kill any one of the targets who voted guilty for him during his execution. And it was forced, you couldn't not do it. So I was just like, yes, and with that I won, you know. I tricked the town into voting guilty for the jester, so she's the only target to be executed, and I don't even need to, you know, it doesn't even matter she's alert anymore because yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't even need to enter her house anymore because she's alert, and I entered her house, so it becomes a draw because, you know, she dies, I die. Now I just let the jester do it, and it's like, whoa, I did it. And I just remember because it was the most insane Town of Salem game I ever played, and I can't believe I won it. Anyway, now I told it to you. Now it's uploaded on the internet. It's there forever in very broken, you know, like pieces together. I wonder if I still have a story somewhere. You know what? It's probably on my old hard drive, which is now broken, so I highly doubt it. But oh man, it was one of the greatest things that ever happened. Okay, I mean in Town of Salem, not like in life. Let's see if I got Town of Salem. Anything in my my drives about it, because it was so good. It was so, it's like, oh, you know. But those are the moments you play social deception games for, you know, just like being like, I'm a mastermind, outplaying everybody. I've done it. But then the rest of the time, I kind of find it a little bit boring now. So, so much that. It doesn't seem like it's on my C drive. Okay, let's see. Town of Salem. It must be on my old hard drive, which is DOA. The other possibilities, maybe it's on my laptop or something, but I don't think I would back that up properly. Do you think it might be my Skype logs? Because I probably told that story to a friend. Anyway, it was the greatest thing. But I hold that memory in my heart of being like, okay, you know, social deception games not always that bad. But that's what you kind of play them for. Anyway, I'm going to have this episode off here. It's gone on long enough. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.